Well, Bitcoin has stabilized at almost exactly $14 a coin. I'm tired of waiting for a jump. So I'm taking the loss and getting my cash back.
I wish I had kept my 1,700 Bitcoin at 6 cents instead of selling them at 30 cents. They are at $8.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great start to your weekend, although how could you not with these insane gains across the board. Bitcoin specifically up over 4%. You can see we got all the way up to about $10,000, almost $100. Now, in yesterday's video, I did say that I had a hunch we were going to have a big Bitcoin move. We did. In fact, over on my Twitter, I was actually asking everybody on a poll if they thought that Bitcoin was going to hit $10,000 before the halving. And with like 3 hours of me posting it, Bitcoin actually went over $10,000. So yes, that did escalate quite quickly. But before we get into everything today, I just want to point out that if you did use your $1,200 stimulus check to buy Bitcoin on the day that you got it, well, you would be up over 35%. And actually, this article is a few days old. Just going to point that out. But we need to talk about the fact that realistically, Bitcoin definitely looks like it could be putting in a potential double top right here. And if we can't break above that, well, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. We could have a pretty big Bitcoin rejection, but that's not what I want to talk about specifically. I want to actually talk about the fact that we have certain crypto experts calling this a potential totally different scenario for this halving. Lots of people have been comparing it to the previous halvings. I'm going to show you why this time it could be totally different. I also want to go into some pretty incredible predictions. The fact that we could have a $40,000 Bitcoin by the end of this year and a $1 million Bitcoin maybe by the end of this decade. And I also want to show you that big money is coming to Bitcoin, as well as some adoption news. Of course, we're going to talk about prices short term, long term, but if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. Also, if you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. And if you're interested in a Ledger Nano S, we do give away one of these hardware wallets every single Monday. So if you want, drop a comment and you are eligible. Now, let's dive into the charts. I don't have to tell you guys what's been going on essentially since we had that Black Thursday dip down here. Bitcoin from the bottom to where it is right now is up 165%. And at the peak, we were up almost 170%. So yeah, if you guys haven't noticed, Joe 007, he was the big Bitcoin bear. He had like an $18 million negative short. He was underwater. Well, he officially just deleted his Twitter. So I guess we can wave bye-bye to one more bear. But that being said, realistically, it doesn't mean that it's all sunshine and rainbows for Bitcoin. I do want to point out the fact that on the bright side, on the CME futures chart, we are actually sitting above a very critical level. You could see that this provided a lot of support right here, right here, right here. It was some resistance here. Well, currently, we are sitting above it right now on futures, and that level is around $9,535. So that is pretty good. However, do keep in mind, it is the weekend. Futures markets do close, and we sometimes put in a CME futures gap. But on the bright side, we are finally above this long-term downtrend. You can see it's been holding us down all the way since the all-time high of 20K for Bitcoin. And if I zoom in right here, we are well above it. So I am hoping that we do potentially close out this week with a green candle. You can see right here, as long as we stay above this purple line and we close out above it, that would be amazing for Bitcoin, because even if we go back over here, Bitcoin only dojied right on it. Right here, we didn't close above it. And obviously at the top, that put in the start of the trend. So this is the first time since the all-time high that Bitcoin has done this. This is really bullish for Bitcoin. Now, some people are a little bit bearish. For example, you do have momentum momentum over here saying, if we look at the TD sequential over on the 2-day, it basically is showing a perfect sell setup. Now, guys, it is a possibility that maybe after this insane run that we've had, you're going to see some people taking profits. Some people are saying, you know what, that was a great run. I'm going to just sell my position right now. That is possible, but I do want to point out the fact that we are above not one, not two, but all three of the major moving averages. We're above the 50, the 100, and the 200 on the weekly. This is definitely a bullish sign for Bitcoin. Coming over here, looking at what Trader Main says, he says, looking at the weekly chart, I reckon Bitcoin is due for a major correction soonish. But that being said, a large pullback, even let's say a 20% pullback, would still only bring Bitcoin back to about $8,000. Think about that. That's still incredibly higher than the lows, and it's also higher than the start of the year, right? We started the year around 7,200. That would still mean that Bitcoin year to date is putting a green percentage. And I also want to point out the fact that we are back in this extremely popular trading zone for Bitcoin. You could see that there is lots of activity for Bitcoin right back here. You can see Bitcoin hung out inside of this region for a long time, right? We also had the wick up here. This is where Bitcoin had its support resistance when we tried to break above 10,500, and we are back in that trading zone again. And I just want to point out something. If you guys can see right above my head, let me see if I could actually take this away right here. There is not a lot of trading above this area. You can see that sort of right around the $10,500 level. The volume range profile just completely drops off, which means that really the next level jutting out is around the $11,400 and sort of $11,400 level. So, I mean, if Bitcoin was to go above 9,500, there's really not a lot in the middle to hold Bitcoin back from going straight to $11,400. In fact, DIY Investing says, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see Bitcoin rip back to its monthly candle right here at around 14,000. He says everyone's looking for a correction at around 10,005. I believe they won't get it, or at least it'll be short-lived. Just look at the monthly time frame and tell me that you are still bearish, okay? So big things are potentially in the works for Bitcoin, not to mention the fact that I've been saying for 3 or 4 days now that it looks like we are going to have a golden cross between this 50 and this 200 right here, and that is going to happen relatively soon, maybe even right when the halving happens or even a couple days afterwards. Now, I have definitely given some caution on these golden crosses. They do sometimes tend to be counter indicators. A lot of traders go, oh, look, everybody's looking for the golden cross, so let's sell. That is a possibility. You can expect that short term, but long term, things are looking great. In fact, you have Bitcoin not only breaking this bottom, support turn resistance for the dominance, but it's actually above the top of the trend, meaning that, as far as the overall trend, not the dominance as a whole, this is the highest we've seen Bitcoin as far as the trend is concerned. Now, I do want to point out this could mean potentially either bad news or good news for altcoins. So if you do believe that Bitcoin is a little bit overextended in its dominance and you are looking for a bit of a pullback down to these lower levels, maybe Bitcoin needs to, retest around the 66% for the altcoins, well, then that could mean that it could be good to potentially hop into some altcoins right now, or even long altcoins over on something like Femex, for example. You can actually long or short some altcoins like Litecoin, XRP, Tezos, Chainlink, even gold. If you want physical gold, you can long or short gold. So if you are interested in doing that, I do have a tutorial that I put out a week ago. If you haven't seen it, that is popping up above. I do also have a link below. You guys get up to a $150 bonus after you do your deposit. If you do use the link, it does help the channel out. You are supporting the channel. Doesn't cost you anything extra. I do appreciate that. But, really, honestly, it's been Bitcoin. It's all eyes have been on Bitcoin recently. There's been some altcoins that have been doing well. Digibyte, I think, had a 900% tear. That was pretty incredible. But really, a lot of traders are looking at Bitcoin. And I want to point out what Raul Pal has said. He says, Bitcoin and the perfect setup. Look at this right here. He says, this is the absolute perfect wedge. If you're using classical charting, which we do use a lot of classical trends on this channel, you could see that we have a Bitcoin target of around $40,000. Now, look at this over here. He says if you put it on the log chart, well, then you're actually looking for a potential target of $1 million. That's pretty crazy. We're not going to necessarily talk about the $1 million Bitcoin just yet, but $40,000 Bitcoin, that is extremely possible, guys. It's definitely in the cards. And if you do want to have a look at sort of this standard deviation move, he says that actually points to about a $400,000 Bitcoin. So look, 40,000, 400,000, a million. Point is, all of these signs are pointing to a much higher Bitcoin in the future. In fact, you can see right here, we do have the halving coming up in 3 days. And I want to show you something really quick, so stick around right now. But I wanted to point out that you can see the majority of Bitcoin holdings are currently in profitable position according to data from Glassnode. Now, this is as far as the UTXO realized price distribution is concerned, and this shows that money-making Bitcoin is up around 85%. But even if you really don't understand what that means, having a very simple look at this Bitcoin chart, this is basically Bitcoin's history. This is the entire history of Bitcoin recorded as far as the BLX is concerned. Obviously, Bitcoin was out before that, but as far as we've been basically keeping track of its price, that's all the time that had you bought Bitcoin, you would be positive. If you bought Bitcoin anywhere here, even recently, had you bought Bitcoin basically any time since February this year, with this, actually almost since January, with this slight little area right here, you would be up. So you'd be up for the majority of 2017, the majority of 2018, and the majority of 2019. So for the most part, for the past 3 years, even though people go, oh, Bitcoin was at 20K, it's at 10K now. I mean, why would you be selling this and not at least accumulating some of it? So just had to point that out. And I want to talk about the big story today, and that is big money coming to Bitcoin. We have legendary trader Paul Tudor Jones. Now, he's one of Wall Street's most seasoned and successful hedge fund managers, and he is reportedly buying Bitcoin as an inflation hedge as central banks around the globe, according to him, print money to relieve the virus-battered economy. He also revealed in a recent message that one of his hedge funds holds a low single-digit percentage in futures on the cryptocurrency or in the Bitcoin futures. Now, think about that. Okay, low one digit. Well, even so, a low one digit, what's that? Maybe 2 or 3%? Well, I mean, even so, if this guy's got 2 to 3%, of their, hedge invested into this, that's crazy. That's a huge amount of money, guys. I mean, as far as the overall futures volume, not his, is what I'm trying to say. But essentially, to quote him, he says the best profit maximizing strategy is to own the fastest horse. If I am forced to forecast, my bet, it will be Bitcoin. In fact, over here, he actually, to quote him, he says, Bitcoin reminds me of gold when I first got into the business in 1976. Gold had just been productized as a futures investment, kind of like Bitcoin recently, and had enjoyed a heck of a bull market, almost tripling in price. And you could see right here, people were saying, well, did he have anything to do with the Bitcoin surge yesterday? Well, this red line right here on the chart essentially shows when the Bloomberg article came out, and Bitcoin rallied another 3% on top of it. So, was Paul Tudor Jones essentially pumping Bitcoin? That's up to you. You guys can decide whether or not people were buying that news, whatever. But essentially, I wanted to take this quote that Dan McArdle pointed out, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but essentially he talks about Bitcoin having an overall score, nearly 60% of that of financial assets, but has a market cap of 1/1200th of that. It scores 66% of gold as a store of value. I beg to differ, but that's just my opinion, but has a market cap of 1/60th of gold's outstanding value. And he says something appears wrong here, and my guess is it is the price of Bitcoin. So when you have Wall Street, when you have big guys like Paul Tudor Jones, hedge funds, all these different things, all these different eyes on Bitcoin, plus you have the halving coming up in 3 days, you have basically endless printing of fiat. Is this not the perfect storm for Bitcoin? And look, I know someone's going to watch this video, maybe Bitcoin does have that 20% pullback, and we do go back to 8,000. Someone goes, I told you were bullish and it dumped. Guys, like I said, short term, Bitcoin does have dumps, Bitcoin does have pullbacks, but long term, this is the place to be. This is the asset that you really want to, hedge against. Obviously, not financial advice, yada, 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 but I mean, come on, guys, like the chart speaks for itself over here, all right? That being said, speaking about the upcoming halving, Cointelegraph actually had a group of 8 experts. I know experts, who's really a crypto expert, right? But anyway, from Switzerland's Crypto Valley, and they had a live discussion held on May 7th, and they came to the consensus that this Bitcoin halving event is going to be very different from the previous two. And they said this doesn't have anything to do with price, but let me tell you what they said. They say that they agree that the macroeconomic events are changing. More and more people are considering storing their life savings in Bitcoin as a hedge against the current troubled monetary system. They say the power has shifted away from miners. They're not in the same position as they used to be years ago. The stock is already so big, and because today there's a lot of Bitcoin in circulation, people are willing to trade and exchange. And also, to quote Alexander Juncker, he's the author of Blockchain Quarterly. He said, "We witness the very moment when a vast economic crisis triggered by a pandemic is threatening to overwhelm an already over-indebted states. In the turmoil to come, the value proposition of debased, unstoppable, pure Bitcoin, whose money supply is written in code, is likely to meet popular adoption, flying away from fiat hyperinflation in many countries." And if that's not bullish enough, I want to point out two more things super quick. Number one, we have mobile payments processor Square reported a massive increase in profit ratio year on year in its Q1 business. They had Bitcoin revenue around 306 million. Now, you may not think that's a lot, but that's 700% higher than what it was last year at around only 65 million. So that is rapid growth. And as far as Bitcoin adoption is concerned, get this. So you guys know Coinstar. I'm sure you've seen those things in the grocery store where you can basically deposit your coins. They can give you cash for a little bit of a fee. You can also, I think, buy like Amazon gift cards or stuff like that. But anyway, so they are looking to add more Bitcoin ATMs. It says the maker hosting 3,500 CoinMe Bitcoin ATMs is looking to double the amount. So now you're talking going from 3,500 to 7,000 Bitcoin ATMs from Coinstar all over the country. In fact, according to the president of product, he says the doubling is going to happen within a year. He said that the Bitcoin ATM growth, both on a per location and overall basis, has been very strong. The company already has plans to roll out new machines, although he didn't say how soon they're going to start doing it. Now, they speculated as to what could be one reason as to why there is such a surge in these, and they say maybe it's because they're exclusively in supermarkets and pharmacies, which are a lot of the places that are still open right now, while a lot of brick and mortar businesses are closed, unfortunately due to the situation of the virus, which shall not be named. But that being said, guys, I would not bet against this over here. Let me know what you think. I mean, we could have a crazy sell the news event, on the day of the halving. We could have a crazy 20% crash for Bitcoin. If you're new to crypto, you're going to learn. You're going to learn. It's going to happen eventually. But that being said, guys, that is it for me. I want to say thank you so much again for coming back to the channel. If you are interested in a Ledger Nano S, I do give one away every single Monday. Drop a comment below, and that makes you eligible. But that's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I do this every single day. That's it. Until next time, stay crypto. My name's K-Dub. I think I said that wrong. My name's K-Dub. Stay crypto. Until next time, of course. Well, you know the drill, guys. Just, have an awesome start to your week, basically. And, let's see what we're doing right now. Okay, yeah, we're still hanging around the $9,950 level. We're only $50 away from 10,000. So that's it for me. I definitely botched the end of this video. Wow, I think I'm a little flustered. I think I'm just really excited. I'm just super excited to see Bitcoin at basically half of its all-time high. So that's it for me today, guys. You guys rock. I love you. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.